guess there's going to be 3 awards. Maybe you can kind of explain a little bit about what the governor announcement means for our area.
Yeah. Let me first say happy birthday to my friend Joe Griffo, who's out there somewhere, hopefully listening to me right now. The governor is using the opportunity this week to start rolling out some of his policy agenda for the 2015-2016 budget. Mm-hmm. And yesterday he was in Rochester, joined by government officials from upstate New York, all over upstate New York, to announce what he's calling I believe it's called the Upstate Revitalization Fund. Mm-hmm. And if everyone remembers, a couple years back, there was something that the governor came out with called the Buffalo Billion. Mm-hmm. And the governor had claimed that because Buffalo was in such dire shape, they needed this infusion of money to help with several economic development programs and projects that they had in that area to try and help lift the city out of financial ruin. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Buffalo now today, compared to where they were 3-4 years ago, you start to see a tremendous amount of progress. You're seeing cranes in the air, developers moving into the city, building, revitalizing older parts of downtown, new businesses coming into the area, and the governor likes to credit the Buffalo Billion for all that. Mm-hmm. Well, although Buffalo and Erie County loved the Buffalo Billion, for the rest of us here in upstate, we were not too pleased. Obviously, we want to help our friends in Buffalo, but Buffalo has many of the same problems as Utica, Rome, Syracuse, Rochester, all the older industrial cities along the canal. So the governor now, in response to some of that, has decided to come up with this program called the Upstate Revitalization Fund, where he is proposing $1.5 billion in funding for economic development, infrastructure projects in upstate New York. And the governor is a big fan of competition, so it's going to be a competition. Some of us are not as happy with that part. You know, Buffalo just didn't have to compete for their money, but
they just got
it. We're going to have to compete for our money. But in any event, it's a competition. There'll be 7 regions in the competition. The regions will be the Finger Lakes, Central New York, which is Syracuse, the Southern Tier, Binghamton area, the North Country, us here in the Mohawk Valley, Capital District, and then the Hudson Valley. Okay. So those will be the 7 regions that will be competing for this $1.5 billion. Now, of those 7 regions, only 3 are going to be selected as winners. Each of the 3 regions will receive $500 million for projects in their region. And it's similar to, if you're familiar with the whole regional council model that he's used over the last couple of years, similar to that, where we'll have to come up with a plan, we'll have to submit the plan, and then a decision will be made by, I believe it's a 5-member board. There's a fellow on there from the Brookings Institute, someone from Cornell. I can't remember all the people, but the one that is on there, who we all know, is Roanne DeStito, Office of General Services Commissioner, is one of the 5 members on the panel who will be making the decisions on how which regions will be selected winners. Mm-hmm. And really, this is a good thing. We got to remember too that this is just a proposal. This is the governor's proposal. He'll lay out more detail next week in the State of the State and his budget address, which he has combined. Traditionally, those are done on separate dates, but because of the shortened time frame with his father's death and everything, postponing the State of the State, he's going to combine the 2 major addresses into one. So we'll learn more detail about the proposal, but I can guarantee you that the legislature is going to have a lot of say on this proposal. Obviously, you're going to have some members from downstate who are not so happy about this large infusion of cash going upstate, and you're going to have people from upstate who are concerned about the competition aspect and what happens to the other 4 regions who don't win or who don't get a chance to take a shot at the $500 million. So there'll be a lot of negotiation, I'm sure. I'm not sure if the final package, the budget's due April 1st. I don't know if the final program will look like it does what the governor announced yesterday. We'll have to see about that. But I think his focus on upstate is admirable. I've said this before. I think it's been a long time since any governor has really paid this much attention to upstate New York. And I think overall, I like the program. There's certain things I'd like to see worked on. But we have a lot, if it's going to go forward as is, we have a lot of work to do in our region, coming up with bold, game-changing projects that are going to help transform the region and create jobs, because that's what they're going to want to see in our plan is how does your plan going to help transform your region and help create more jobs. So we have to look towards projects that we're working on, new projects, existing projects, infrastructure projects, you name it. And that's really the job over the next couple of months, trying to come up with some of those plans.
Now, with these awards, who puts together that presentation or the application to say, hey, listen, we want that money for this? Who does that?
That's a good question. That's a detail that I think we still have to learn more about. I don't know if it's going to be we have this Mohawk Valley Regional Council, Economic Development Council already in place. Several members throughout our community are on the council. I don't know if it's that body that will be putting the plan together or some variation on that. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out yet, but that's something that hopefully in the next week or so we'll learn more detail on who exactly is making the decisions on what our plan is going to be.
Now, I know it was just announced. It might be putting you on the spot, but do you have any idea? Maybe it's wow, that money could go here, here, and here. Any idea where you would like to see that money spent, if indeed we could get one of the awards?
I think we want to look towards projects that we have been working on that we could use that infusion of cash to help move even faster. We talk a lot about nanotechnology. You have the Quad C facility on the campus of SUNY IT, which is near completion. There are other phases to that development which need money to move those projects along, which will help create jobs for the entire region. You look at the New Air project here in Rome, the unmanned aerial vehicles. They have been looking for more funding to help move that project even further along. That they are really in competition with the other test sites around the country for the testing of unmanned aerial vehicles. Other states are putting significant resources behind their test sites. I believe New York should do the same, because that project will certainly have a transformative effect on not only Rome and Griffiths, but the entire region. So that's another project we want to look to. And then really we got to see what are our strengths, how can we capitalize on them. One of the things I always advocate for is an educated workforce. That's why I push so hard for the career and technical education diploma, which the Board of Regents is moving forward on. How can we incorporate some of that into our school districts? So we are training our citizens for these kinds of jobs that are coming along. Infrastructure projects. Utica and Rome would like to see more development in their downtowns. We both have very old buildings that are architecturally beautiful, but certainly need a lot of work on the inside to bring them up to modern day standards. And sometimes developers shy away from these kinds of buildings because of the large expense renovating them, but we would certainly like to have more housing, loft type apartments in both cities, in our downtown areas, to try and bring more young people into the cities again, give people who may be coming into the area for nanotechnology, or who may be moving to the area looking at Rome for cybersecurity, who may be working at Rome Labs, or who want to move to this area for the New Air project, give them opportunities to live in downtown, not just live in the suburbs. So those are always projects that we could look towards. And then really just listening to the community and seeing what the community wants. How do you think this money should be spent? I think there should be a lot of input from the community on how this money should be spent. If we were to receive $500 million in this region, it would have a tremendous impact. It's really, we have never seen that kind of state cash come into this region ever. We're starting to see more and more, and you're starting to see things happening in our region because of some of the nanotechnology initiatives. But really, this will be a game changer and really transform some of the projects that we've been working on.